the PlayStation Classic. Now this was one that I think could have been amazing, and Sony and PlayStation kind of screwed it up. Okay, so the NES Classic is what started it all. About 4 years ago, this was released by Nintendo, and it sold like crazy. Now, what does that have to do with today's video? Well, today's video we are talking about classic editions, classic consoles, and we're gonna see, are they really worth having in 2020? Now, I will talk about 5 different ones I have over here off to the side, each individually a little bit, and talk to you what games came on them, how much you could get them for now, and why I think they're either worth it or not. So if we're going to really do this, we have to start with the NES Classic, and that is what boosted all of this. All of the weird, wacky mini consoles that we got from the beginning started with this console, and that is the NES Mini, the NES Classic, NES Classic Edition, whatever you want to call it. There are a ton of different names it goes by, but this is something I have talked about on the channel since it released day one, and honestly I wanted to kind of revisit that. Game prices have been skyrocketing. In my last video I talked about some GameCube games that went out of this world to me, to be honest, and so I wanted to talk about these. Are these worth it now that prices of games are just skyrocketing? And I think some of these are and some of these aren't, but this is absolutely the first one that started the fad, the whole trend, and hopefully eventually we get a Nintendo 64 Classic console, but we're stuck with what we have for now. But the NES Edition is a great system. Now I looked this up, and I'm going to use price charting for all the prices here, just to stay on a level playing field. That way we don't have any like weird discrepancies or anything like that. But price charting has this listed complete, and I'm saying complete is because you can buy them new or used for this price when I looked around, and that was about $90. Now I saw a few that were at $80, and I saw like a few $125, but I think $90 is a good average cost. And so what would you expect from this? If you are wanting to play your NES system and you have an HDMI TV or a HD TV, it's probably going to be a little hard to play that without an upscaler or something like that, like the FrameMeister. But with this system, you can play all the games that are on it on your HDMI TV with no problem. You literally get everything you need in this, you plug it up to your TV, and you have a bunch of fun. Now this is obviously a much smaller console than the original NES, but that doesn't matter here. You're not putting in game cartridges, so it doesn't have to be huge. But the controllers still fit perfectly in your hand as they did back in 1985, and so these are it's just a great system. Now if you look on the back here, it's got a ton of great games for it. I'll just mention a few: Mega Man 2, Super Mario Bros. 1, 2, and 3, you got Final Fantasy, you got Adventures of Link, you've got Punch-Out, you've got Dr. Mario, Castlevania. The list literally goes on and on. There are 30 games on this, and I think that is definitely well worth it. Now you can see on the front there's also Metroid, Donkey Kong, Pac-Man, Kirby. There's just a ton of great games on this, and I think this is just one of those systems that I think is worth it in 2020. Now if you bought this in 2020, you spent $90 on it, would you have enough fun? I think you definitely would. You're essentially paying $3 per game, and I think that is well worth it. Now if you didn't know, people have hacked this, put their own ROMs on it. I'm not telling you you should do that if it's legal or not. It depends on where you are, but this is an awesome system, and I think this is definitely a pickup if you're sitting at your house in August 2020, which is when I'm recording this. The COVID is going on, the coronavirus is making games expensive, and so I think this is definitely something you need to add to your collection, or just if you want to play video games for cheap. I think this is definitely a good way to start off. Now next we are going to continue on with the Nintendo theme, because that is how this worked. It was the NES, and then no one else released anything until we got the Super Nintendo. And the Super Nintendo is an awesome system, and so that is what we're talking about now, is the Super Nintendo Classic Edition, which is also known as the SNES Classic or the SNES Mini, all those different names. Now, this was a system that took what you got with the NES console and made it a little better, and here is why. Now, not only does it come with one controller, it comes with two controllers, which is totally awesome. Now, the price was a little bit more when this came out, but that doesn't really matter when you're getting that extra controller, and the games that are on this are fire as well, so this is one you definitely must have. I haven't even said the games or how much it costs if you were to buy it now, and I'm already telling you, definitely pick this up. Now, if you looked on price charting, it was about $105, which is actually a little low from what I was seeing. I was seeing about $120 and $125 on like eBay and Amazon and all that, but $105 is a good number to keep it level. So what do you expect from this? This is also another console that hooks up to your HD TV. It won't hook up to your old CRTs, only works with HDMI. Obviously, it's a mini console that is just perfect. It fits in the palm of your hand like that, and it has a ton of great games. Now, just mentioning the games on the back here, I'm gonna leave it up to these and then I'll dig into it a little bit more. You got Super Mario World, Donkey Kong Country, F-Zero, Super Mario Kart, and Zelda. Those games alone would make this well worth it. Now, I'm gonna keep reading on the games. Star Fox, Final Fantasy III, Kirby's Superstar, The Secret of Mana, Mega Man X, you got Earthbound, you've got Castlevania 4, but last but not least, you have an unreleased version of Star Fox 2, which I think is why this is definitely well worth it just for Star Fox 2. Now, there was never an official release for this. Now, I believe the ROM leaked eventually at some point, but this was never released by Nintendo until the Super Nintendo console, Classic console, and so you should definitely add that to your collection. If you don't, if you're sitting at home and you really want to play some games, and you want to play multiplayer games, I think this is the way to go because it does come with those two extra controllers. Now, moving along, we're going to talk about the next games that I picked up, or the next consoles that I picked up. Now, I picked them up in probably a weird order, and a lot of people probably wouldn't have done this, but the next console I actually picked up was the NeoGeo Mini International, and there are a few reasons for that. First off, I have an NES, not the NES, a NeoGeo MVS that was consoleized to work with a home, your home on a TV. So I plug in AV cables, I plug it in, and it runs MVS games. So I have NeoGeo games in the closet here. I don't talk about them on the channel. Maybe one day I will, but I have so much fun with it that I knew I had to have this. Now, it has a very small screen on it. It's got a little joystick and the buttons. The joystick does not meet the standard that you would expect with a NeoGeo controller, but that's a different story. However, this was a pretty cheap thing when it came out. Honestly, the cool thing about this was if you had a portable battery, you could take this on the go with you, have it plugged in, and play it, and I thought that was really cool. Now, talking about this on price charting, I got kind of weird prices. There were two different ones, and one was $85 and one was $36. Now, I'm gonna kind of stick with the $36 because that one's the more like reasonable price, I guess. About $40 is what I would expect to pay for this right now. Now, this is an awesome system, and I think this is more for those niche players, the people that have either never heard of NeoGeo, or they just want these games to play and be able to boot them up and play them very quickly. And I think this is a novice idea, but I don't think it's, maybe novel is the right word. It's not the greatest way to kind of do this. I think they could have done a little system and maybe not had the screen and maybe done things a little better and given us a controller like they used to have. That was amazing. But overall, this has 40 games on it, which is a lot of games. Now, it's got Metal Slug 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and X. Now, that is 6 Metal Slug games. That, to me, is well worth buying it. But it also has King of Monsters 1, 2, Shock Troopers 1 and 2nd Squad. It's got Fatal Fury Special. It's got 3 Count Bout, King of Fighters, more King of Fighters, The Last Blade 2. It's got Last Resort. It's got Blazing Star. It's got a ton of awesome games. So I think that's why, for me, this is well worth it. For 40 bucks, you're getting 40 games. That's $1 a game. I definitely think that is well worth it. Now, if you're paying the 80 or the 100, that might be not worth it to you, but to me, I think this is an awesome system, and that's why I have it in my collection. Now, those 3 consoles I bought when they came out for full price. Now, the next 2 are ones that I got on sale, and if you've watched this channel for a long time, you probably remember when I did that. And we're going to talk about the Sega Genesis Mini first. And the reason why is because I got this on a Black Friday deal. Now, when I looked it up on price charting, the price is about $45, which to me is a surprise because I paid $40 or $50 whenever this came out. I can't remember exactly. When this was on Black Friday special at Target, I saw it, didn't have it in the collection. I have a Sega Genesis. I'm a fan of the Sega Genesis, but I hadn't gotten this because 80 bucks or 100 bucks, whatever it was when it released, was a little too much for me to pay. So I was waiting for this thing to drop. It dropped to 40 to 50 bucks, and I said, yeah, with those games, it's definitely worth it. So looking at the price charting price of $45, I think this one is worth owning, but I do have issues with it. I don't think it was worth as much as it was when it came out, but I definitely think now that the price is settled, it's settled to where it should be. And that's kind of the caveat of these next 2. They're worth it if you get them at the right price, but I'll just mention how many games and all that. So this has 40 games, 40 classic games, and 2 bonus titles, which is really just 42 games. They kind of went with how the SNES had a bonus title, so they kind of did that for the Genesis as well. Now looking at the back, it had Echo the Dolphin, a great game, I loved it. It had Castle of Illusion, Alex Kidd, Altered Beast, Castlevania Bloodlines, Beyond Oasis. You got Kid Chameleon, Gunstar Heroes, Golden Axe, Ghouls and Ghosts, Shining Force, Shinobi, Sonic 2, Mega Man The Wily Wars, Contra Hardcores, Dynamite Heady, Earthworm Jim. Like literally these lists are, it's just great game after great game. You got Street Fighter games, you've got Toe Jam and Earl. It's all a solid list of games. Now most of them I already have, so that was kind of the reason I didn't think it was worth as much as it was. But I think this is definitely a system that if you could get it for 40 bucks, maybe a little bit less, definitely is well worth adding to your collection. Now, rounding out the top, I've got one more, and you probably know what it is. If you've watched the channel, you know I did not pay much for this, and that is a PlayStation Classic. Now, this was one that I think could have been amazing, and Sony and PlayStation kind of screwed it up. Like, if you think about all the awesome games you could have had on the system, and I'm not going to go into that much detail because people on the internet have already, trust me. I think this could have been a lot better than it was. It could have been better with better games. It could have been better with a better UI. I think there's a bunch of things that they could have done better with this and could have made it a little bit awesomer. Now, or more awesome, whatever, I don't know. But one thing is the controller. If you notice, this is not the DualShock, so that means it doesn't have the 2 controller analog sticks that you're used to if you play any PlayStation controller literally from the beginning, except for the one that they had for barely any time. But I think this one should have came with a DualShock controller, maybe a few other games, and it would have been worth it. Now, I paid $25 for this when I got it. It was on Amazon for cheap, and so I gotta pick it up, gotta play it just to see, and I'll review it for the channel, and maybe I'll play it once or twice, and it'll be worth that. So I did, and I looked this up in price charting, and currently it's going for about 38 bucks, which to me is a little bit too much, too expensive, but I digress. However, this does have some good games on it. Now, it could have had a ton of more, but I think I'm just going to mention off the games that I enjoy from this game. Now, it does have cool borders too. I like cool borders. It's not the best game that I would have put here, but that's okay. Kind of the same thing with Destruction Derby. I'm a fan of Destruction Derby. I don't know about putting it on this. You got Final Fantasy VII, you've got Grand Theft Auto, Intelligent Cube, Jumping Flash, Metal Gear Solid, Abe, Oddworld, Abe's Odyssey, you got Rayman, Resident Evil Director's Cut, Revelations Persona, R4 Ridge Racer, you've got, Siphon Filter, Tekken 3, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six, Twisted Metal, Wild Arms. Those are all good games, but I feel like they fell short, and I feel like that's why this one may not be worth it. I think if you can get it 25 bucks or under, that's well worth it. If you can find it used for 20 bucks, definitely pick it up, but if you're gonna pay 40, 50 bucks for it, I just don't think this is worth it. And I know that's a shame, but honestly, I feel like this is a system that Sony kind of failed on, so that's kind of where I stand on it. Okay, so that was the 5 classic consoles that I own in my collection, and really what I think about them and are they worth it. Now, prices of games are skyrocketing, and I think that is why I wanted to do this video. It is perfect for this because if you don't have a huge amount of money to spend, but you kind of want to get some games and you want to play some games, I think this is a good way to do it. If you've got $100 and maybe you don't have the console, but you're running an NES and 10 games, you're probably gonna spend $100. Whereas if you get the Classic, you can use it on your TV. It's all built in. It's really easy. You don't have to deal with trying to clean the games or worry if something doesn't work. And so that's why I think these are worth it in 2020, especially with prices just going insane. So I want to know what you think. Comment down below and let me know. Is it worth it? Is it not? Just let me know what you think. If you think some are and some aren't, comment that down as well. I want to say thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell notification. That way you know when I post more videos, which is every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And one more time, thank you so much for watching. It's it's August 2020, and the coronavirus is still a big deal. So if you are watching this around that time, please stay safe, practice social distancing, wash your hands, stay at home as much as you can, wear a mask when you go out, stay 6 feet away from each other, all that stuff to keep you and your family safe. Now, I'm not trying to get political or any of that stuff. I just want you and your family to be safe. So one more time, thank you so much for watching, and make sure you have a good day.